return of the Washington Commanders to the district has now turned into some uncertainty. The deal announced this week by Mayor Muriel Bowser and the Commanders to build a new stadium on the old RFK site still needs to be passed by D.C. Council. Right now, 4 council members tell 7 News they're a yes or they lean that way. 2 council members are against the project. The rest are a maybe. 7 council members need to vote in favor for the project to move forward. To break all this down for us, we bring in Megan Flynn with the Washington Post, who's been tracking this every step of the way. Megan, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon here on WJLA 24/7.
Thanks for having us, or for having me.
Of course. So my understanding is if there were a vote today, it would not pass D.C. Council. So do you think at some point other folks will fall in line here?
I think it's for a lot of council members that's saying I'm a no at the moment unless. And so they have maybe some conditions that they'd like to see met or some changes that they'd like to see before they can get to a yes vote. For example, Zachary Parker said he's not necessarily opposed to a stadium, but doesn't want to see any money spent on the vertical build of the stadium. And so for some, it's wanting to see different restrictions on how the taxpayer money is spent. And so I think we're likely to see a big debate around, for DC's contribution, what is that money specifically going to fund?
I know this question is kind of along the same lines, Megan, but can DC Council really say no to this stadium deal? I mean, you're talking about big events, you're talking about Super Bowls, really not that DC needs to be put on the map in any stretch of the imaginations, but this is monumental stuff. So do you think that they can say no, really?
Could always say no, but I think the more realistic path is the mindset is how can they, from their perspective, improve the deal for DC taxpayers seems to be the top priority of a lot of council members. For some, the total price tag over $1 billion in taxpayer money makes some a little bit uneasy. They might want to bring that down through different, negotiations on some of the facets of this project. There's a lot of moving pieces. You've got parking garages, the stadium infrastructure itself, related infrastructure such as the roadways, possible transit improvements. So there's a lot of different areas where there might be room for negotiation on some of council members' own priorities.
And what do you think? We've heard 2030 is one of the big dates being thrown out there. What are the odds that this stadium actually gets built and we see the Commanders moving there and the other events by 2030?
Certainly like to open a stadium by 2030, but that's dependent on what the timeline would be if the council approved the deal by this summer through its budget process. Right now, the council is yet to see the budget. The mayor is yet to make her budget proposal. Some of that hang-up is because of uncertainty surrounding the FY25 budget due to the congressionally imposed cuts. And so that has caused some substantial delays. Chairman Mendelson has said that's not an excuse anymore. We really need to get the ball rolling. And so they have said if the mayor gets it to them by May 15th, you could see a budget vote in mid-July, but it's really up in the air right now about how quickly that could happen. But if there were to be a vote on the budget around mid-July, DC and the Commanders would probably spend a lot of the fall and early next year planning the development in their hope. Their hope would be to start construction as soon as late next year.
Do you get a sense, have you talked to Prince George's County officials, folks in Landover, to see if there's any push for them to, I mean, I know the deal has been reached, but sort of the Prince George's County side of this, have you any word on that?
Prince George's, I'll say I have not personally, but I know my colleagues have been keeping close tabs on how this will impact Prince George's, given they don't want to become the next vacant RFK Stadium, just this hulking abandoned stadium. And so they're still in negotiations with the team about how to maybe use that space for another entertainment hub so that it doesn't become totally abandoned. So I know that they are trying to make sure that there's an opportunity there and that it's not just a total loss.
Got it. All right, Megan Flynn, thank you so much, covering D.C. government and politics on the Post Metro team. You've been there since 2018, and you'll be there every step of the way covering this this major story about whether the Commanders will and all the other events will be coming back to the RFK Stadium site. Megan, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.